Currently, the Edmonton Oil Kings are the worst team in the entire WHL, and today I'm going to try to turn this team right here into Stanley Cup champions. So I've gone ahead, copied every single player from the Edmonton Oil Kings roster and threw them on a created team. From here, we're going to turn this team right here into Stanley Cup champs. However, the one thing that definitely works in our favor is every single player here is on the cheapest contract imaginable, so we have $65 million in cap space, so we're definitely going to be using that. However, there is one rule that's going to make this rebuild a bit more difficult. I'm only allowed to make 3 free agent signings per season, and they have to be players 85 overall and below. So I think we already have an idea of how the season's going to go. We're going to lose every single game here. We're going to get the first overall pick, and that's how we're going to be sparking this rebuild. And if we go 0-82 and don't get the first overall pick, then I'm going to have an issue with this game. But while we wait for the season simulation right here, a quick word from today's sponsor. I want to give a massive shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring this video. SeatGeek is the best ticketing app out there for getting tickets for your favorite events. The NHL season's fully underway, and now's your best time to pick up some tickets. They give every single ticket a rating, so you know whether you're getting a good or a bad deal. On top of SeatGeek having tickets for thousands of events, if you use code SOTI at checkout, you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. And once again, I want to give a shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring this video. So it's not much of a surprise that we're going to be finishing dead last in the entire league here, but there is one surprise. We actually won more than one game. I mean, we actually won more than 0 games, and that's actually a pretty big surprise. We went 3-78-1. I'm very impressed with this Edmonton Oil Kings team. Also shout out to Gavin Hodnett for leading the way here. He's picking up 36 points, 8 goals, 28 assists, only minus 125, not a bad season from him. Meanwhile, Colby Hay, 3 wins this season and 894 save percentage. That's actually pretty good considering this team was probably facing 50 shots a game and a 517 goals against. I thought it would have been way worse. So we obviously know this team is going to be making the playoffs, but the Minnesota Wild are, and they're also going to be taking home the Stanley Cup this season, taking down the New York Rangers in 7 games. But now things are about to get interesting. We're off to the draft lottery. Now, if this team doesn't get the first overall pick, we're going to have issues here. Thankfully, we're not going to be getting screwed here. We're getting the first overall. Now, all we have to do is pray there's a franchise potential prospect with the number 1 overall pick. I'm not sure if there will be, there probably won't be, but all we can do is pray at this point. Now, unfortunately, there's no slam dunk number 1 overall pick in this draft. We could go with the guy that's projected number 1 here, but we have no scouting done on him. Or we could go with the number 2 overall pick. He's medium elite potential, offensive defenseman. He's a gem here, so we already know he's going to be a great player. I think we're going to go with this guy right here. I think that's the right selection in this situation. On top of drafting that great prospect first overall, we're also going to be getting a steal in the 3rd round here. With the 67th overall pick, we're securing a playmaker with low elite potential. For the first draft of this video, it's actually going pretty well here, as we're going to be securing our 3rd elite potential player. This one's going to be a low elite 2-way defender. So I've gone ahead and re-signed the entire Edmonton Oil Kings team, as well as some of our rookies. They've all been signed to 3-year deals at $775K. We have a ton of cap space to work with, so let's make our 3 moves. Now, there's 2 ways that we can go about this rebuild right here. We could sign guys like Max Domi to 1-year deals and then give them $4 million. Then at the trade deadline, trade them away at 50% retained. Or we can acquire guys like Verana, give them 6-year extensions at $4 million, and then hope they develop into like 87 overalls, 88 overalls, and then they'll be great players on cheap contracts for us. And then option 3 could be taking on contracts like Eric Branson or TJ Oshie, and then along with taking on those contracts, we also get a couple picks in the process. So after considering all of our options here, I think I know which route we're going to be taking. So we're going to start with the deal like this. Max Domi, 1 year, $3.6 million. That's about $600K more than what you're asking for, but at the trade deadline, we'll trade you at 50% retained, and we'll be able to secure a few assets. Our next signing is going to be Kubalik to a 2-year deal at $3.2 million. He's going to be playing first line minutes for us. I expect he'll develop into an 85 overall, and then we'll trade him at 50% retained next season and get a ton of assets. And then our final move is going to be with Kevin Labanc here, 1 year, $3 million. Similar to Max Domi, he'll be traded at the trade deadline at 50% retained. So as you can tell, it's definitely not going to be a 1 or 2 season rebuild, because here we are in year number 2 and the team still looks terrible, but we do have 3 new pieces to the forward core, and I think they're going to be pretty good for us this season. Defensively, we're going to see our first overall pick in Eugene Boma. He's a 76 overall. I'm not expecting him to do too much this season, because we do have to look at the team around him. He's got basically no help on the defensive core here, so even picking up a few points is going to be difficult. Meanwhile, the goaltending tandem, I'm pretty sure it's the exact same this season. We're still walking 2 guys from the Edmonton Oil Kings, so really we shouldn't expect to win anything more than 5 games. Alright, so I knew that the Edmonton Oil Kings were going to be bad this season, but I actually thought we would be a bit better than what we are right now, seeing as we did add 3 NHL players. We're 160-2. Yeah, so we stink. I mean, I knew we were going to be bad because, I mean, look at the rest of the team, but I thought we would have maybe 3 wins at this point, maybe 4. However, our 3 new additions are looking pretty solid right now. Max Domi's got 48 points, Kubalik's got 47, while Kevin Labanc LeBlanc, he's got 41. They're definitely going to have a bit of trade value here, so let's make some moves. So I'm looking at this deal with the Boston Bruins, and if it's even possible for us to get this done, that would be massive. Jeremy Swayman on a 7-year contract. He's an 88 overall, high elite potential, 26 years old. That definitely fits the timeline with this team. And all we would have to give up, Max Domi at 50% retained, this medium elite potential starter along with a 3rd round pick. Ain't no way we just got that done. Well, it's safe to say we have our goaltender for the future. Now, the next potential deal I'm looking at would be a very difficult one, but if we can get it done, it would be massive. We're going to pick up Jack Quinn from the Buffalo Sabres. He's an 85 overall, 23 years old. That definitely fits the timeline here, and he'd be a massive upgrade from Kevin LeBlanc. I'm going to try this 1-for-1 at 50% retained. Obviously, that's not going to be going through. I don't necessarily want to give up a ton of draft picks, but if we just trade Kubalik as well, that could be the move. Now, how about this? Kevin LeBlanc at 50% retained and Kubalik over to the Buffalo Sabres. We get Jack Quinn and Casey Middlestat. They're going to be saying no here. They don't really want Kubalik in this deal. Maybe if we throw in a couple draft picks, we'll be able to get Jack Quinn. Obviously, we're not going to be giving up our 1st round pick, and I don't really want to give up our 2nd either. But you know what? If we got to trade a 3rd round pick to get this deal done, then I'm more than willing to do that. There we go. We just picked up Jack Quinn. And I think this is the final move we're going to be making here. It's going to be Kubalik over to the Nashville Predators, and we're going to be picking up Luke Evangelista. He's a nice young player. We'll sign him to a long-term contract. This is going to be a great move for us. It will be a great move once we get it done, of course. And it's not going to take too much more to get it done. All it's going to take is a 6th rounder, and we just picked up Luke Evangelista. So with those 3 trades done, I don't want to trade anyone else on the team, so let's just head to the end of the season and then get the 1st overall pick once again. However, before we get to the end of the season though, we got to give out some big deals here. So we're going to be starting with Jack Quinn, 8 years at $5.2 million. Hopefully he accepts that deal. And then with Luke Evangelista, it's going to be a similar deal, 8 years at $5.3 million. Ideally, these guys are on the team for the rest of the rebuild here, and I believe those contracts are going to age well for us. So obviously, with our Edmonton Oil Kings being an absolutely elite team here, they're going to be finishing the season out strong, winning 1 more game to finish out the year. We're 278-2. That might be worse than last season. I actually don't recall. Was our last season record worse than this? For some reason, I think it was. However, in saying that, obviously, we picked up 2 great pieces here. Luke Evangelista and Jack Quinn. They had great seasons. 60 points for Evangelista and then 50 points for Jack Quinn. While our young defenseman here, not a bad season from him, picking up 29 points. He's up to a 77 overall. He'll have some decent development over the offseason. And then for next season, we're going to get him a defensive partner because we can't have him rocking with 61 overalls. That's just not ideal for his development. Meanwhile, Jeremy Swayman, I'm actually going to give you a lot of credit here. 1 win, 14 losses, but a 902 and a 449. Those are actually pretty solid numbers considering the team we have in front of you. You also got 2 X factors now. Things are going to be looking good for this man once we put a team around him. And of course, we got to see who's taking home the Stanley Cup this season, but we're not going to spend too much time here. Detroit's beating St. Louis in 6 games. You hate to see it, you really do. Now, this video was recorded before the Detroit Red Wings beat the St. Louis Blues, which ended up getting Craig Berube fired. On top of that, they still have more subscribers than me, so please subscribe. I can't deal with any more disappointment coming from the Detroit Red Wings. However, there would be one thing more disappointing than us not passing Detroit YouTube subscribers, and that would be us dropping from 1 to 2. We won 2 games this season, so we get the 2nd overall pick. Meanwhile, Calgary's jumping from 8 to 1, and the Chicago Blackhawks are going to jump from 13 to 3. Nice. So once again, I have no clue what our scouting was doing this year, but they were not cooking. But we're going to be going with this guy right here because he was projected 2nd overall, but in the previous scouting rankings, he was projected 1st. So it was going back and forth the entire year between him and the guy that went 1st overall. So we're definitely going to be getting a good prospect here. An 80 overall 2-way forward. What a fantastic pickup this guy's going to be for us. So of course, we can make 3 signings during free agency, and I think the first one's going to be Sam Bennett here, 2 years at $4.3 million. You also might notice I'm giving more than what he's asking for. We were a 2-win team. Ain't nobody coming to a 2-win team unless they're getting the bag. We're also going to be giving Sean Monahan a deal here, 3 years at $3.1 million. Although he's 30 years old and is a 3-year deal, he's going to be playing top line minutes here. He might even develop into an 85 overall. I highly doubt that though because he is 30 years old, but he's still going to have a bit of trade value. Now with our next move here, it's not necessarily about picking up a player that's going to have a ton of trade value, but we need our young defenseman to have somebody to play alongside. So Schmidt, welcome to the team. So we're slowly developing a decent team here. Sam Bennett, Evangelista, and Jack Quinn are going to be holding it down the first line. And then on the second line here, we're going to have Cedric and Sean Monahan. Monahan doesn't have the greatest fit here, but you know what? Who really cares about line fit right now? Look at the rest of the team. Line fits the least of our worries. Defensively, it still looks pretty cooked here, but Nate Schmidt and Boma, they're going to be a decent pairing, and I can't wait to see what Boma does this season now that he has a competent line mate beside him. Meanwhile, in between the pipes, of course, we still have 87 overall Jeremy Swayman here. He's got his X factors, high elite potential. We still don't have a defense in front of him, so I'm not expecting too much. So the Edmonton Oil Kings are clearly a better team this season. They've already won 19 games, 19, 41, and 6. Now we're headed in the right direction. This team's finally starting to figure it out. And of course, the reason for that is our first line right here. Jack Quinn, 61 points. Evangelista's got 60, and then Sam Bennett, he's got 52. A fantastic season from him. However, there is one concern I do have. Boma, 30 points this season. That's not too bad. However, you're a 79 overall. You haven't really developed too much, and you also lost your X factor. So we got to get you a true number one pairing line mate. So there's two potential deals that could get done here. This is the first one. Sam Bennett, Nate Schmidt, and a second round pick over to the Colorado Avalanche. We'd pick up Bo Byram, an 88 overall, and he could definitely play on our first pairing defense, and that would definitely be a massive upgrade for this team. Unfortunately, Colorado's going to be saying no to this deal, but don't worry, I have a backup plan. Now, the backup plan happens to involve the Colorado Avalanche, as Sam Bennett and a 7th round pick are going to be sent over there, and we're going to pick up Samuel Girard. That's going to be a massive upgrade to our defense. Now Boma has an elite player to play alongside. Now, deal number 2 here is going to be with the Carolina Hurricanes, as Sean Monahan and a 2nd round pick are going to be sent over there, and Kotkaniemi, 5 years left on his deal at a reasonable pricing. He's an 86 overall. We're in desperate need of a playmaker, and he can definitely fill that role for us. However, before I offer this deal up, I do want to see if I can get a couple draft picks. Let's see if we can get a 4th and a 5th rounder. They're going to be saying no to that, so I'll take the 5th rounder out. Can we just get a 4th in exchange? They're saying no to that. We'll take all the picks out, and we'll just do Sean Monahan and a 2nd for Kotkaniemi. Quite far off in trade value, you say? It seems pretty equal to me. So I feel like I'm starting to get out of hand with trading draft picks away, but if I can pick up Kotkaniemi for Sean Monahan, a 2nd and a 4th, then I think it would be worth it. We're giving up quite a lot of draft capital for a team that's not very good, but you know what? We're bringing in pieces that we desperately need, so I think these trades are working out for us. And then our final trade is going to be completed with the Dallas Stars here, as we're bringing Tom Harley onto the team. He's a nice young player, definitely an upgrade from Nate Schmidt when it comes to age, so this is definitely going to be helping the future of our team. And with that trade completed, I've done all the trades I want to do for this season. We also really don't have any players left, so let's simulate to the end of the season and see what happens. Also, the Calgary Flames are placing Klim Kostin on waivers. He's an 80 overall and he's only 26 years old. He's still got a bit of potential left in him, so we might as well claim him. Why not? So the Edmonton Oil Kings definitely saw some massive improvement this season. Although they are finishing last in the entire league here, they did pick up 26 wins, and we were actually tied for last place with the Buffalo Sabres. We don't have a bottom 6, and we also only had one pairing of defense, and we were just as good as the Buffalo Sabres. I would be embarrassed as Sabres fans. We had a better offense than them, but our defense was definitely worse. That's not really much of a surprise. We don't have a bottom 6 or bottom pairing defense. So yeah, Buffalo, y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. Speaking of the Buffalo Sabres, the former Sabre and Jack Quinn, an incredible season from him. 78 points this year, 39 goals, 39 assists. Evangelista, he had 77 points, a great year from him. And Kotkaniemi, what'd you do since coming over to the Oil Kings? 23 points in 16 games. Yeah, the future for this team is definitely bright, and everyone's on fantastic contracts. Meanwhile, Jeremy Swayman's numbers are definitely taking a step in the right direction this season. I'm not too worried about the wins, but the save percentage, an 896 and a 393, those are numbers I'm definitely happy with. To finish the season off here, we're going to see the Winnipeg Jets taking down the New Jersey Devils in a 5-game series to hoist the Stanley Cup. But who cares about the playoffs? We're more interested in the draft lottery. So are we going to get screwed here for the 2nd season in a row, or are we going to be securing the 1st overall pick? It's either going to be us or Buffalo, and it looks like it's going to be neither of us. The Colorado Avalanche are jumping from 4 to 1, and we're dropping from 1 to 3. I think that's actually the worst possible outcome for us, because I think the lowest we can drop is 3. Maybe we can drop to 4. I don't really remember. Yeah, that kind of sucks, but you know what? I'll take a top 3 pick. But knowing Colorado's luck, they're going to be securing a franchise potential player. I can guarantee it right now. I haven't looked at the draft yet, but I can guarantee that the guy going number 1 has franchise potential. He didn't have franchise potential, but he's an 84 overall coming into the league at 18 years old. You might as well give him franchise potential at that point. Meanwhile, I'm definitely not going to be complaining with our selection here. Gavin McKenna, welcome to the Edmonton Oil Kings, who are now in the NHL. So nothing really happened during the re-sign phase, but now it's time to go with some extensions, and we're getting some fantastic deals done here. Samuel Girard, 6 years at $4.7 million. And that's just the first of many to come. Okay, I'm not going to lie, Boma, you're kind of bugging here. I don't really want to give you this much money at an 82 overall because you haven't really shown that much signs of developing. You're 20 years old, 82 overall. You don't really have any X factors right now. I don't think that's necessarily the move for us. This man, on the other hand, his development has been wild, so I'll give him 8 years at 1.5 million. He started off as like a low 60 overall, and in just 2 seasons, he's up to a 78. So yeah, we better make sure he stays on the team. Tom Harley, we're going to pay attention to your development, but you haven't really done too much for us, so I'll only give you 2 years at 3.6 million. Okay, Calle Jarkko, I know you're 34 years old, but I can't turn this deal down right here. We're going to do 2.1 for the next 2 seasons. You're an 83 overall. You're going to probably play some top 6 minutes for us, maybe third line minutes, but you're going to be a good piece for us. Now, Mario Ferraro, I don't think it's possible for you to make our team any worse, so I'll do 3 years at 3.3 million. You're an 82 overall. You can either play top 4 minutes or top 6 minutes, one of the two. For this season, I'm not necessarily focused on signing guys that we're going to be trading, but I just got to fill out the defensive core here because we need some good pieces. So since we started this video, the team's looking way better. And I just wanted to point out, Evangelista and Jack Quinn, they've got themselves some X factors. That's what I've been waiting for. And Gavin McKenna, he's already got a handful. He's going to be playing some second line minutes this season alongside Cedric and Jack Quinn. I'm expecting this top 6 to do some big things. Meanwhile, the defense has definitely taken a massive step up recently. We only have 160 overall left on the team so far. The rest is 80 overalls and higher. And then with a good defense in front of Jeremy Swayman, he might actually be able to do something this season. I'm not expecting you to get us into the postseason, but 20th overall in the entire league, I wouldn't mind that. And before we get into this season, you know what, Klim Kostin, I got faith in you performing on this team. 4 years at $2 million. This contract could definitely backfire on us, but I see you playing an important role for us. Meanwhile, Boma, you better smarten up pretty quick here. $11 million per year for the next 2 years. You might be traded sooner than later, because I'm not playing around here. That's a terrible deal for us. Okay, I just want to point this out. The Colorado Avalanche are first in the entire league after securing the first overall pick. Ain't no way. But there is one thing we have to look at this season. It's the Edmonton Oil Kings, 20th in the entire league right now, 29, 26, and 8. The team's here and they're ready to compete. And we're also in a playoff spot right now because our division isn't that great. We're currently 3rd in the division, so we are in the playoffs. If we can somehow make the playoffs here, that would be insane. So far, the team's looking pretty good. Kotkaniemi's got 65 points. Evangelista's got 56. Jack Quinn, 48. A bit of a slower year from him. I'm expecting a bit more. Gavin McKenna, 47 points in his rookie year, though. He's looking pretty good. So is Cedric. I honestly can't complain with what the team's looking like right now. Except for Boma. Bro, what are you doing? Like, respectfully, you're getting traded. 84 overall elite potential. You lost your X factors, and you're putting up 29 points in 63 games so far. Yeah, that's not it. So here we go with a high risk, high reward deal, a 1st round pick for next season, a prospect, a 3rd rounder, another 3rd rounder, and Calle Jarkko over to the Winnipeg Jets. We're going to be picking up Cole Perfetti. He's an 87 overall sniper, and I feel we're in desperate need of a sniper, so he can definitely fill that role for us. On top of picking up Cole Perfetti, we're also going to be picking up Brock Faber and Brad Lambert, 2 pieces that are going to be great for our depth. I'm saying that over, they're saying no. What's it going to take to get this deal done? We also still have Adam Yicho from the original Edmonton Oil Kings team, so maybe he can be the difference maker in this deal. I guess he will be. The Edmonton Oil Kings are still helping us. Who would have thought? And I think that's going to be the only deal we do this season because we don't have any draft picks that I want to trade away, and we also don't have a ton of prospects left because we traded a ton of them, so we're going to rock with the team we have here. So it might have taken till after the trade deadline, but Boma has finally smartened up here and he's willing to sign a reasonable deal. We'll do 5 years at 6.3 million. Bro was asking for $11 million at one point. He was bugging. On top of bringing back Boma, we're going to give Faber a 3-year extension here, 2.1 million. That's actually a pretty solid deal for an 81 overall defenseman. And then Brad Lambert, I see the potential with you, 8 years at 1.8 million. Even if you don't develop into anything higher than an 81 overall, 1.8 million for an 81 overall is actually a steal of a deal. Okay, Brock Faber said no, so we have to do a 3x3. I'm still not necessarily against that deal, but it's starting to get a bit expensive. Well, it's a great day to say the least. It finally happened. We weren't a great team by any means, but we're making the postseason here, 19th in the entire league, 38, 35, and 9. The Edmonton Oil Kings are officially here, and they're ready to get a Stanley Cup. Probably not this season, but in the next couple years for sure. Kotkaniemi continues to prove he's one of the best players on the team. He's got 91 points this year. Evangelista's got 75. Cole Perfetti, 70. What'd you do since we acquired you? I'm expecting you to do big things here. 8 goals, 12 assists for 20 points in 19 games. A fantastic season. Meanwhile, Jeremy Swayman, you continue to impress me with the numbers here. 31 wins, 3 shouts, a 909, a 301. Once we complete the forward core here and finish out that 4th line, we're definitely going to be one of the top teams in the entire league, that's for sure. But until then, let's do something in the postseason here, as the Edmonton Oil Kings are going to be taking on the Edmonton Oilers in the 1st round. It's a battle of Edmonton. Let's see which team's coming coming out on top. So here we go, round number 1 here. Obviously, the Edmonton Oilers should be the heavy favorites over the Edmonton Oil Kings right now. Edmonton was clearly the better team at the end of the day, and it looks like that's going to be the case here. They currently have a 3-1 series lead, and they're probably going to close this one out in Game 5. Never mind, we're actually putting up a solid fight here. We're off to Game 6. If we can win back-to-back games here and force a Game 7, that would be pretty impressive, but unfortunately, that's not going to be the case here as we're falling in 6 games. So after the Edmonton Oilers beat us, they would go on a bit of a run here all the way to the Stanley Cup final, but it doesn't look like they're going to be enough to beat the Carolina Hurricanes as they're taking that one in 5 games. But I think the funniest thing about this entire postseason, Boma's going to be leading the way with 6 points. Out of all the players on our team, Boma's leading the way. Ain't no way. And he's also up to an 87 overall with 2 X factors. Where did that come from? Now, during the draft, we would be able to pick up one decent player here, but I'm not sure how effective he's going to be for us. A low elite potential enforcer. So after going through the re-sign phase and not really making too many moves, it's time to get out some extensions. And Cole Perfetti, I'll do 5 years at 8.3 million. And then Cedric's going to be a bit more than Cole Perfetti, but not by too much here. 8.9 million for the next 5 years. He's 20 years old. He's got lots of time to develop. He's going to be a great piece for us. So of course with free agency, we get to make 3 moves here, and it looks like we're going to be bringing back a fan favorite, one of the first members of the Edmonton Oil Kings, Kevin Labanc, 2 years at 2.1 million. We got to bring the old core back together. And then the second free agent signing we're going to be doing is Gurionov to a 2-year deal at 2.6 million. I think he can provide some bottom 6 scoring for us. And then our final signing is just going to be a 1-year deal with Jacob Pelche. Now we actually have to make one trade before we head into this season because we need a backup goaltender, so we're going to be picking up Hunter Jones from the Minnesota Wild. So I think there's actually a good chance that we would be able to compete for a Stanley Cup this season. Jack Quinn, Cedric, and McKenna on the second. The bottom 6 here looks really good. We've had a lot of players develop. They've gained a ton of X factors. This team's looking elite. On top of that, the defense is even better with Samuel Girard and Boma, both at 86 overalls, and Boma's finally developed. He's gained a ton of X factors. I'm expecting him to do big things this year. Harley and Yoki Haru are going to be getting that +2 for line chemistry on that second pairing, while our third defensive pairing, it's actually not too bad. And then to finish it all off, of course, we have our man Jeremy Swayman in between the pipes at 88 overall. He's got his 3 X factors. And on top of that, we have a decent backup this season. We got Hunter Jones. I have very high expectations for this Edmonton Oil Kings team. So right now, we're an incredible team, 40, 15, 11, but I think there's one upgrade we can make, and that would be to the defense. So we're going to pick up Hampus Lindholm. He's an 87 overall. He's still got his X factors. The only concern I have with Lindholm is he's 34 years old, but you know what? We're in a win now situation, so I think we need Hampus Lindholm. And even next season, even after he declines, he'll still be like an 85 overall, so we're making this deal right here. So it's taken a little bit to get here, but we finally reached this point, second in the entire league, 49, 21, and 12. Considering where this team was 5 years ago, we've made some big improvements. Now the offense, it's pretty average, definitely not one of the best in the entire game. But the defense, nobody's even close to us. 2.59 goals allowed per game. I think that's going to be the difference maker in the postseason. Cole Perfetti's turning into one of the greatest pickups of all time here. 41 goals, 42 helpers for 83 points. Jack Quinn, he was another fantastic pickup, 76 points. And of course, we can't forget about Cedric. He's got 68 points. But look what happens when you have a defense in front of Jeremy Swayman. 42 wins this season, 3 shouts, a 922 and a 240. We already know he's the best goaltender in the entire league. Now let's go get ourselves a Stanley Cup. And in our first round matchup, it looks like we're going to be taking on the Vegas Golden Knights, but I'm looking forward to a potential second round matchup, and that's where we would match up against the Edmonton Oilers. So after game 1, honestly, I thought we had this in the bag. We were going to dominate the series, but here we are heading into game 5, and this series is tied, so game 5 is going to be a massive one here, and we're dropping that one 3-0. We can't be losing in the first round here. That can't happen. We got to lock in, and that's exactly what we're doing, and now we're off to game 7. Nah, but seriously, we can't lose in game 7 of the first round. If we lose in game 7 in the Stanley Cup final, I can deal with that. But not game 7 of the first round. I'm going to go ahead, simulate through the entire game. We lost in overtime. Bruh, ain't no way. So you know what? That's just going to be motivation for next season because the entire team's coming back. We've had a taste of the playoffs for back-to-back years now, and we've lost in the first round for back-to-back years. But next season's going to be different. The entire team's coming back. We're going to have Hampus Lindholm for the entire year. I'm going to make a few changes to the bottom 6 so we have a bit more scoring. And this team's going to be hoisting the Stanley Cup next season. That's a fact. So in order to get better for next season, we got to pick up some solid prospects, and that's exactly what we're doing as we're securing a low elite potential playmaker. There's like a 95% chance that you will be traded. So Jacob Pelche, I'm actually pretty happy with how you played last season, so I'll bring you back on a 2-year deal at 3.2 million. So I need to know who Gavin McKenna's agent is because ain't no way we're going to get an 8-year deal done at $4.8 million. Whoever your agent is needs to be fired immediately. Also, Tom Harley, I'm not going to be bringing you back at this amount of money. That's just wild. But we still have you for 1 more year, so I mean, We'll take it. Our defense was incredible, but our offense, it could be better, especially the bottom six. So Trey Fix-Lansky, here's 2 years at $3.1 million. You're a sniper. Come to this team and score goals. Also, Peyton Krebs, I'm perfectly fine with giving you 3.3 for 1 season. I'm really surprised you're not asking for more money than that. So you know what? That's a steal of a deal for us. So this is the season that we win a Stanley Cup. Our entire forward core here looks absolutely incredible. And to top it all off, Cedric's going to be our first player with the Superstar X Factor. Out of all the players on this team, I wasn't expecting Cedric to be the first guy to get it, but you know what? He's 21 years old and 89 overall. He's an incredible player for us. He deserves it. Defensively, we have to give a massive shout out to Hampus Lindholm for being an absolute beauty and staying at an 87 overall. I was concerned about what his decline was going to look like, but so far things are looking great. And to top it all off, we're winning a Stanley Cup because Jeremy Swayman's up to a 90 overall, and he's got 2 more X Factors. What more could we really ask for? It might have taken a handful of years, but it's finally happened. The Edmonton Oil Kings are officially at the top of the league here, 58, 18, and 6, one of the best offensive teams in the league, and we're also one of the best defensive. We're the best team in the entire league by far right now. Now let's go get ourselves a Stanley Cup. Before we win ourselves a Stanley Cup though, we got to highlight these numbers. Cole Perfetti, 91 points. Kotkaniemi, 89. What a great pickup he was. Evangelista, he's got 80. Jack Quinn, 77. The entire team came out here and performed. Even Boma, 76 points as a defenseman. I was contemplating trading you at one point. Thank God I didn't. And on top of those fantastic offensive numbers, look at these numbers from Jeremy Swayman. 47 wins, 8 shouts, a 915 to 249. Continue these type of numbers into the postseason, we might go 16-0. Okay, 16-0 is definitely a stretch, but you know what? We're going to get past the Anaheim Ducks in the first round, and then we're getting a rematch against the Edmonton Oilers in the second. So I got to give a lot of credit to the Anaheim Ducks here. Surprisingly, they took 1 game away from us. I was expecting this to be a clean sweep, but you know what? That's alright because we're going to close this out in 5 games. After that quick series against the Anaheim Ducks, we're moving on to the second round here, and I couldn't be more disappointed in the Edmonton Oilers losing in 5 games to the Vancouver Canucks. I was looking forward to the rematch, Edmonton Oil Kings versus Edmonton Oilers, but unfortunately we're not getting that today. We're taking on the Canucks. Similar to that series against the Anaheim Ducks, it's been straight dominance from the Edmonton Oil Kings. We have a 3-1 series lead, and we're looking to close it out in Game 5 here, and that's exactly what's happening, and we're off to the conference finals. So out of the 4 teams remaining here in the conference finals, every single one of them won their division. We have number 1 seeds across the board here, so no matter who we match up against, it's going to be a tough one. But first, we got to get past the Colorado Avalanche. So I guess it doesn't matter who we take on because we're just going to continue to dominate here in the postseason. Another 3-1 series lead, this time against the Colorado Avalanche. But unfortunately, we're not actually going to be closing out in Game 5 here, but don't worry because we're going to close it out in Game 6. And now we have the Montreal Canadiens to take on the Stanley Cup final. They're taking down the Carolina Hurricanes. This is going to be a great final matchup. So here we go through the first 4 games of this series here. Are we going to be able to sweep the Stanley Cup final? It doesn't look like it, but we do have a 3-1 series lead. We've been in this position a handful of times, so let's close it out in Game 5 here. A shutout in overtime. The Edmonton Oil Kings are Stanley Cup champions, and just like that, we've completed the rebuild. So there's a handful of players we wouldn't have been able to win this without. Cole Perfetti, Evangelista, Cedric, but we can't forget about Kotkaniemi up here. 29 points, he's leading the team. 8 goals, 21 helpers. He was an absolute beast in the postseason. And without this man, we're clearly not winning a Stanley Cup. Jeremy Swayman, 16 wins, 1 shutout, and that 1 shutout's coming in the final game, a 920 and a 254. This man was crucial to the success for our team. So now that we've turned the worst WHL team into Stanley Cup champions, the question could be asked, could we do it again with the worst OHL team?